Welcome to Revisit Books podcast, where we turn books into bite-sized wisdom you can use every day. Today, we're diving into a really significant work, Stephen R. Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Hmm.
And this isn't just, another self-help book that flashes brightly and then fades. Its influence has been huge, and honestly, it feels just as relevant now as ever.
Oh, absolutely. It's remarkable. You have people like Sirendell Thompson, a CEO, calling it a must-read and a must-reread.
Mhm.
That says something about its lasting power.
It really does.
And then Admiral Byrne Clark highlights how it helped millions aim to be their best selves at work and at home.
Mm.
And I think what Arun Gandhi said is quite profound, connecting it to finding that inner strength we all have but maybe don't tap into often, leading to a moral realization of the meaning of life.
Wow, that's some heavy praise from very different fields. It speaks volumes because let's face it, the world feels, well, complex, right?
Right.
Demanding. And we're constantly bombarded with quick fixes that, frankly, don't seem to stick.
Exactly. And that's where this book offers something different. It's not about tricks or techniques, not primarily anyway. It's about timeless, universal principles, things that can guide us toward, real effectiveness, a sense of purpose, and genuine happiness.
So it's about transformation from the inside out, not just tweaking things on the surface. But who really needs this kind of approach? Who is this discussion for?
Well, I'd say it's definitely for you if you feel like you've tried all the hacks, the productivity systems, the positive thinking routines, maybe. But you still feel like you're just putting out fires, playing whack-a-mole with problems.
Yeah, that feeling of being constantly busy, just run off your feet, but wondering, does any of this actually matter in the grand scheme of things?
Precisely. Or maybe you're trying hard to balance your career ambitions with, well, having a real connection with your family and loved ones. Feeling like success in one area has somehow cost you in another.
Or that familiar cycle, right? Making promises to yourself, a new diet, exercise routine, whatever, and then
Yeah.
it just doesn't happen. And maybe you find yourself blaming your boss, your past, your circumstances.
Yes. If you catch yourself thinking, if only this or if only that, then this offers a really powerful shift. It's for leaders who want genuine loyalty, not just compliance. It's really for anyone who wants to understand themselves better, improve those key relationships, handle conflict more effectively, and build a life that truly reflects their deepest values, not just reacting all the time.
Okay, it sounds like it addresses some fundamental human challenges. So let's get into the core ideas. Where do we start?
A great starting point is the first big concept Covey introduces, the power of paradigms, and crucially, shifting from what he terms the personality ethic to the character ethic.
Paradigms. So like our mental maps of the world?
Exactly. They're the lenses, the assumptions, often unconscious, through which we see everything. And these maps dictate our attitudes and ultimately our actions. You know that classic optical illusion? The picture where some people see a young woman and others see an old woman straight away.
Oh yeah, I know the one.
Well, that perfectly shows how our conditioning shapes our perception. Same picture, totally different realities based on our internal map.
Okay, I get the concept. But what's the real world impact? Why does this matter so much day to day?
It's huge. Covey shares this incredibly vivid story about being on the New York subway. He was getting really annoyed by this father whose kids were running wild, making a racket.
Right, I can picture that.
But then he found out the man had just come from the hospital. His wife, the children's mother, had died literally an hour before. Instantly, his irritation just vanished, replaced by deep sympathy. His paradigm shifted completely. The facts hadn't changed, but his understanding did. And the key insight here is that often we don't even realize we're operating from different maps. We argue, we get frustrated thinking the other person is just wrong or unreasonable.
When really we're just seeing the situation through totally different lenses, that makes so much sense. And this leads into his critique of the personality ethic, right? This focus on techniques and image.
Yeah, for about 50 years before he wrote the book, he observed that much of the success literature focused on things like communication skills, positive mental attitude, dressing for success, basically outward appearances and techniques.
The quick fixes.
The quick fixes. He called them social band-aids.
Yeah.
They might cover up a problem temporarily, make things look better on the surface, but they don't address the underlying, often chronic issues. Think about trying to force cooperation or teamwork without building actual trust first. It just doesn't work long-term if the underlying paradigm, the map, isn't aligned.
So you can't just paint over a rotten foundation. What's the alternative then? What's the sturdy foundation Covey points to?
That's the character ethic. This is where true, lasting effectiveness comes from. It's built on fundamental principles, primary traits like integrity, humility, fidelity, courage, justice, patience, industry.
The real bedrock stuff.
The bedrock stuff. These are like natural laws in the human dimension. They build trust, create long-term value. Personality skills are secondary. They're useful, sure, but only when they're rooted in solid character. Trying to use personality techniques to compensate for a lack of character, well, it eventually falls apart. So the first step is always inside out. Examine your paradigms, align them with principles.
Okay, so first understand your map, then align it with true north, these core principles. Then what? How do we start actually changing things?
That brings us beautifully to the first couple of habits. They're all about taking ownership. Habit 1, be proactive. And habit 2, begin with the end in mind. These are about becoming the driver of your own life.
Habit 1, be proactive. That sounds simple, but I suspect it's deeper than just taking initiative.
Much deeper. It's about recognizing your fundamental responsibility. That space between stimulus, what happens to you, and response, what you do about it. In that space lies your freedom and power to choose. Your behavior isn't just determined by your mood, your circumstances, or how you were raised. It's a product of your conscious choices based on values.
And he uses Viktor Frankl as a prime example here, doesn't he?
An incredibly powerful example. Frankl, imprisoned in Nazi death camps, facing unimaginable suffering, realized they couldn't take away his ultimate freedom. The freedom to choose his response to his circumstances, his attitude, his inner state.
Finding freedom even in the most horrific conditions. So for us, in our hopefully less extreme daily lives, what does being proactive look like?
It means focusing your time and energy on your circle of influence.
Right.
The things you can actually do something about. Your health, your skills, your relationships, your work habits. Rather than getting consumed by the circle of concern, things like politics, the economy, other people's weaknesses, things you have little or no direct control over. It's about acting, not being acted upon.
And he tells that story about the marriage that had gone cold.
Yes.
Huh.
The man says, I just don't love her anymore. The feeling is gone. And Covey's response is blunt. Love her.
Love her, as in an action.
Exactly. He explains that love, the feeling, is the food of love, the verb. The actions of loving, serving, sacrificing, listening, empathizing, appreciating generate the feeling. It's a proactive choice, not just a passive emotion we wait for.
Wow, that reframes relationships significantly. Okay, so that's being proactive, taking ownership of your actions. What about habit 2, begin with the end in mind?
This builds directly on being proactive. It's the principle that everything is created twice. First, there's a mental creation, a plan, a blueprint. Then there's the physical creation, the actual result. To live effectively, you need clarity on that first, mental creation for your own life.
And this is where the famous funeral visualization exercise comes in.
That's the one. Imagine your own funeral. What would you want your loved ones, spouse, family, friends, colleagues to say about you? What kind of person were you? What difference did you make?
It's a bit morbid, maybe, but incredibly clarifying, I imagine. Forces you to confront your deepest values.
It really does. Because without that clarity, Covey warns, you can get incredibly busy, climb the ladder of success with great effort.
Only to find it's leaning against the wrong wall.
Exactly. You achieve goals, but they aren't the goals that truly mattered to you. So this habit encourages developing a personal mission statement, like a personal constitution, based on those timeless principles: fairness, integrity, contribution, growth. It becomes your internal compass, guiding your choices, providing a sense of security and direction that isn't dependent on external circumstances.
So habits 1 and 2 together are about saying, okay, I'm the programmer, not the program. I can write my own script based on my deepest values.
Perfectly put. You move from being reactive to being the creative force in your own life.
Powerful stuff. Now, once you're directing yourself, Covey introduces a crucial concept for sustainability, doesn't he? This idea of balance.
Yes, absolutely vital. This is our third key takeaway, the PPC balance. It's about nurturing the goose that lays the golden eggs.
Right, the classic Aesop's fable. Tell us how Covey applies it.
So P stands for production, the golden eggs, the results you want. Maybe it's profits in a business, good grades for a student, a clean house, whatever. PC stands for production capability. That's the goose itself, the asset, the resource that produces the results.
And the lesson is?
The lesson is that true effectiveness requires balancing both. If you focus only on getting more eggs, P, and neglect the health of the goose, PC, eventually the goose gets sick or dies and you get no more eggs.
So short-term gains at the expense of long-term capability. Can you give some examples?
Sure, think of a physical asset like a lawnmower. If you just keep using it, people that are cleaning it, sharpening the blades, changing the oil, PC, Eventually, it breaks down completely. No more mowed lawn.
Makes sense. What about in business or relationships?
In business, Covey tells the story of a restaurant owner who decided to water down the clam chowder to save money, boosting short-term profits. P. But customers noticed, trust eroded, loyalty vanished, PC was destroyed, and the business eventually failed. He also stresses treating employees well. They are a key PC asset. You want them to treat customers well. Treat them well. Their best work, their creativity, their commitment that's volunteered, not mandated.
And in personal relationships, this must be huge there.
Oh, absolutely. In a marriage, if you only focus on what you're getting out of it, P, taking your partner for granted, not investing time and energy in understanding, appreciating, being kind, PC, the relationship itself suffers. The goose gets sick. Same with kids. You can push for obedience and good grades now, maybe through pressure or manipulation. But if you don't invest in building trust, teaching self-discipline, really listening, PC, you undermine their long-term independence and character.
It's often subtle, isn't it? Not usually a sudden killing of the goose, but a slow neglect.
That's often the trap, the gradual sacrificing of PC for P. So this principle really forces you to take a long-term view. Are you maintaining your assets, your health, your finances, your skills, your key relationships for sustainable results?
It's a constant balancing act. Okay, this leads us nicely into the habits focused on working with others. Let's talk about our final key takeaway. Habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. This sounds like the cornerstone of good communication.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
And it flips the script on how most of us naturally operate. Covey points out that most people listen, not with the intent to understand, but with the intent to reply.
Guilty as charged, sometimes. We're just waiting for our turn to speak, formulating our response while the other person is still talking.
Exactly. We filter everything through our own experiences, our own paradigms, our own autobiography. We think we understand, but we're often just projecting our own stuff onto them. He uses the great analogy of an optometrist who listens to your eye troubles for a second and then says, "Here, try my glasses. They've worked wonders for me."
Huh. Right, you'd never trust that optometrist. You want a proper diagnosis first.
Precisely. And yet we do that all the time in our communication. We jump to solutions and advice before we've deeply understood the other person's perspective, their needs, their concerns.
So what's the alternative? What does seeking first to understand actually involve?
It involves empathic listening. This is listening with your ears, yes, but also with your eyes and your heart. It's listening for feeling, for meaning, not just for words. It's about getting inside the other person's frame of reference, seeing the world, at least for a moment as they see it, really trying to grasp their reality.
That sounds difficult. Requires real effort and suspending your own judgment.
It does. It requires patience and genuine care. But Covey argues it's the single most important principle for interpersonal effectiveness. It's the key to making deposits in what he calls the emotional bank account, building trust and rapport, because nothing feels like a deposit unless the other person perceives it that way. And feeling understood is perhaps the biggest deposit of all.
Okay, so diagnose before you prescribe. Can you walk us through how that might work in, say, a conversation with a teenager who's struggling?
Sure. Covey gives this detailed example of a father trying to talk to his son about problems at school. The son is hesitant, withdrawn. The father keeps probing, advising, judging, all based on his own school experiences, his own autobiography.
And the son just shuts down more, right?
Exactly, because he doesn't feel understood. He feels judged, lectured. Empathic listening, in that case, would involve the father just reflecting back what he hears, both the content and the feelings behind the words. So it sounds like you're feeling really frustrated with this class, or you feel like the teacher doesn't get you. No, not agreeing or disagreeing, just reflecting until the son feels genuinely heard. Then, once that understanding is established, they're on the same side of the table, and they can start looking at solutions together.
That shift from opposition to collaboration, that's huge. And only after achieving that understanding, Covey says, should you seek to be understood.
That's the sequence. Once the other person feels truly heard and validated, they become much more open to listening to your perspective. He brings in the classic Greek concepts, ethos, pathos, and logos.
Character, emotion, logic.
Right. He says you present yourself first with ethos, your integrity, your credibility, the trust you've built. Then you connect with pathos, showing you understand and respect their feelings and perspective, which you achieve through empathic listening. And only then do you bring in logos, the logic, the reasoning behind your own point of view.
Ethos, pathos, logos, in that order.
In that order. It makes your own case much more compelling and persuasive because you've laid the foundation of trust and understanding first. This habit is just critical for resolving conflicts, building strong teams, deepening relationships, any situation where collaboration is needed.
It really feels like these habits build on each other, creating this upward spiral from dependence to independence and then to genuine interdependence.
That's exactly the model Covey presents. It's a journey. You start with the private victories, habits 1, 2, and 3, taking control of yourself. Then you move to the public victories, habits 4, 5, and 6, which is about synergy, building on habit 5, working effectively with others.
And the whole thing is underpinned by that inside-out approach, isn't it? Lasting success comes from character, from principles, not just from external achievements or appearances.
Precisely. It's about who you are, fundamentally. And sustaining all of this requires the final habit, habit 7, sharpen the saw.
Ah, yes. Keeping the tool sharp. What does that involve?
It's about balanced self-renewal, taking time to invest in the 4 key dimensions of your nature: physical, exercise, nutrition, rest; spiritual, connecting with your values, meditation, nature; mental, reading, learning, planning; and social emotional, serving others, empathy, building relationships, which ties back to habits 4, 5, 6. It's the habit that makes all the other habits possible. It's investing in yourself, your greatest asset, your own PC. Neglect this, and eventually everything else starts to dull and break down.
So it's not selfish, it's essential for long-term contribution. The goal isn't just arrival, but continuous growth. Living life in crescendo, as he puts it.
Beautiful phrase, isn't it? Always learning, contributing, expanding your influence for good. Knowing your most important work might still be ahead of you. Building relationships, serving others, constantly growing through that process of renewal.
It's a really holistic and, frankly, inspiring vision for a well-lived life.
It truly is. So maybe the final thought for you listening is this. Take a moment. Where in your life might you be applying those quick fixes, those personality ethics solutions to problems that actually run deeper?
Or where are you perhaps sacrificing the goose, your health, your relationships, your own well-being for some short-term golden egg?
And maybe consider, what's one small way you could start sharpening your saw today? Just one small action in one of those 4 areas, physical, spiritual, mental, or social, emotional, that could begin a positive upward spiral in your life.
That's today's breakdown. While this discussion cannot replace the book's full text, it can offer a glimpse into its teachings. I hope you found this discussion helpful, and I look forward to sharing more. Let me know what book next you want to discuss.